was a bad marriage from Dark Side of the Moon on. You know, we were very much at odds with each other. There were enormous conflicts in the band. We shared almost no musical or philosophical, political, or any other values with each other.
But now you're going out and you're playing solo. And how do you feel about that? Do you feel
wonderful?
Different?
I feel great about it.
Do you miss the bandmates? Do you miss?
No.
Perhaps now that you're out of the Floyd thing, which was a huge commercial success, now you have more freedom as an individual artist.
Well, not really. It's more comfortable now because I don't have people, stabbing knives in my back all day long. But I always did exactly what I wanted, I have to say, up until the final cut. It's just that, the band ceased to be a band and was over. So I don't have any more freedom now than I did then, but it is much more fun.
It's always difficult when you've been in a successful band to go and working in a solo capacity after that, because a lot of people not just don't notice what you're doing because you're no longer in the band. That happens to a certain extent, but other people kind of resent it. One of you, I can't remember who it was, but one of you guys I'm talking to tonight was saying how it was a damn shame.
It was me, Roger, actually.
It was you.
Well, so many of our audience would regard it in that way, so I thought on behalf of
Well, that is a cross that I have to bear. And as I was saying to you before, it's not a damn shame for me. We had run our course. We were... that was a bad marriage from, although we produced some good work, it was a bad marriage from Dark Side of the Moon on. We were very much at odds with each other. There were enormous conflicts in the band. We shared almost no musical or philosophical, political, or any other values with each other. And we were held together simply by the weight of the name, and the ease of living under that kind of corporate umbrella. But that's not a happy experience, in fact, for an individual who's in it, who still has a need to change, develop, express themselves, and become more themselves, go more through the process of individuation.
The critics at the time weren't really liking your solo material.
Well, that may well be true as well. But the fact is that Joe Public would respond to anything, that was called Pink Floyd, in a way that they would never respond to anything that wasn't. And people might say...
How frustrating was that for you?
It was very character forming, Well, there's a famous occasion when I was in Cincinnati and I was playing in a 3,000 or 4,000 capacity arena to about 1,000 people. And the very next day, the chaps were playing to a sold-out show, 70,000 people in the Colts football stadium.
You mean the chaps being Pink Floyd?
Yeah, and I remember at the time...
Gotcha, that must have hurt.
And there was a point, I think, were you playing in Cincinnati, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, and you were playing on your own, doing your own work. You were playing to an audience of 2,000 in a 6,000-seater stadium, and Pink Floyd were playing... Where to how many people?
They were playing in the Colts football stadium to 70,000 people, either the same night or the next day, I think, and that was very character forming.
I bet.
Yes, that's all right.
How did it form your character? What form did that take?
I think it was really good for me.
Was it?
Yeah. A bit of failure is very character forming and makes you think about what's really important and what isn't.
No, I remember at the time standing on stage and thinking to myself, you know what? This is character forming. This is not the worst thing in the world. Who was it? It was Young who was always saying, I'm really worried about so-and-so. He's just suffered a great success, I think. I'm not saying that Young has got the answer to everything, but nevertheless, he was a wise old bird in some ways.
Maybe people are angry with me for leaving Pink Floyd. That's a possibility. Is it?
I wouldn't say particularly. I wouldn't say particularly. But as you said...
And do we dare ask how you now feel about performing material from your former band?
Well, I feel fine about it. I've performed stuff that I wrote when I was in Pink Floyd since I left in both the previous tours that I've done, and I like performing my songs. I have no problem with that.
The pig and the plane, that's all my work, which is something I resent, reasonably enough. You know, those are things that I designed for Pink Floyd shows, and I think really they ought to design some stuff of their own, you know.
New music and touring, what's your vision of the future of Floyd?
Neil, my vision is the future of what?
Of Pink Floyd.
Of Pink Floyd? I have no idea. You'd have to ask them.
Do you have a hope, a dream, a direction you'd like to see it go, or is there any hope for the future of the band in terms of what you would like?
Well, no, it's nothing to do with me.
Okay.
I'm sure you're aware that other members of Pink Floyd have done solo projects in the recent time. Have you heard any of their material, and if you did, what do you think of it?
You mean the solo things that the other guys have done?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't really want to talk about that. I'd talk about anything else, almost, in the world, but I really don't. I'm not very interested in talking about the whole Pink Floyd thing. I've left the band. I'm pursuing a solo career. I'm doing a lot of work on my own. I'm doing some film music. I'm making a new album. And I'm very excited about all the things that I'm doing. As far as I'm concerned, Pink Floyd is all finished. It's all behind me. My understanding is that there's a possibility that Dave Gilmour and Nick Mason may attempt to make a Pink Floyd record on their own. I wish them every success in that endeavor, but I'm not interested in it.
Have you seen them live, or have you listened to the new album?
I've listened to the album, yeah. No, I haven't seen the live show, but I know a number of people who have.
How do you like the record?
I think it's a very facile but quite clever forgery. I mean, they're clear. In fact, not just from listening to the record, but from kinds of other things, I know that they sat down and tried to make a record that sounded like a Pink Floyd record. And with that, as I said in the Rolling Stone thing that most people have read now, I think they have achieved that limited goal, but I think songs in general are awful.